on the camera which I bought, the action cam, which is the TCL SVC200. I've been out on the bike and I've done some footage on 1030p and 720p, and I just thought I'd come indoors now, and well, not indoors, sitting in the back garden, and do quick video footage with the camera set at 720p at 30 frames per second. The last edited video which I put on YouTube was set at 720p 60 frames per second, and this is now at 30 frames per second. Right, the bike itself, as you can see, it's an ST1100. I bought this probably about 5 years ago. It's a 1996 model. Incredibly good bike. Yeah, as you can see from the front, yeah, it's got a little bit high vis on the two mirror pods. Again, like I said before, it's there for my own protection. Gives me a little bit extra foresight, or it'll get me seen when other vehicles are pulling out the junction. Right, let's see the front. As I say, the three stickers on the front of the screen. I see you got Bikewise Training, which I've done. Northern Pan Riders, that's the motorcycle group who I'm a member of. And underneath that you've got Durham Advanced Motorcyclists. Again, because I passed my IAMS test, I am now a member of the Institute of Advanced Motorists and Durham Advanced Motorcyclists. Right, the bike itself, let's see. I bought the bike with 62,000 miles on the clock. It's now got 81,488 miles on the clock. Since I got the bike, let's see, what have I done to it? I've replaced the swinging arm. I've upgraded the alternator to a 40 amp alternator. I've also changed the timing belt, and I've also changed the clutch. Like I said, when I first bought the bike, it had 62,000 miles on the clock with very limited service history. So I thought, well, I'll change the timing belt on it. And of course, when I went to the Honda dealers to order the timing belt, the Honda dealer said, "Oh, how many miles is on the clock?" And I told him it had 62,000 miles on the clock. And he said, "Oh, you don't need to change it yet. We don't change the timing belts on these STs until they've reached about 90,000 miles. But the Honda specification and Honda actually recommend that these timing belts are changed at 70. So I was a little bit confused. Dealership says change it at 90, but Honda said change it at 70. So I changed it anyway. But as I say, I changed the clutch because when I was changing the timing belt, you have to take the clutch housing off to access all of the pulleys. So I thought, well, if I'm taking the clutch off, I might as well change the clutch friction plates while I'm on, which I did. And that was the only reason I changed the clutch, basically because I had to do the timing belt. Or I prefer to do the timing belt. Yeah, the swinging arm itself, I replaced the swinging arm 2 years ago. I was just doing some basic maintenance on the bike during the course of the winter. And when I stripped the back wheel off, I had noticed there was a little hole in the swinging arm. Only a small hole, it wasn't big. However, as soon as I got the little wire brush in it and I start rubbing the flaky paint off, this hole, this small hole, suddenly got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it got to such an extent it was just beyond repair. It doesn't matter how much welding you would have done, it still would not have held. That's the only problem with the ST models. They do tend to rot, where the swinging arm tends to rot from the inside out over. So it might look absolutely perfectly fine on the outside, but the inside is just shot. It's absolutely gone. The alternator itself, the alternator went on me about 6 months ago. So I changed the alternator, bought a brand spanking new one. I don't believe in buying second-hand parts, especially like the swinging arm and the alternator off eBay, because you just don't know honestly how many miles has got on the clock. And especially with the swinging arm, if the swinging arm is rotten from the inside out over, it might look perfect on the outside, but on the inside, you know, you could be buying a death trap. So just be aware. Right, let's see the bike itself. That's the other action camera I've got. That's the full HD one. And if you can pick that up there, that's the one that I bought from China about 18 months ago. I haven't posted any videos and I haven't done any reviews on it, but the footage itself off the camera is quite good. As you can see, I've got big long wire and I've got it mounted underneath the front mirror pod, which is there. And I do intend to splice some footage together at some point. Right, the tank bag itself. Let's say the tank bag's got all of my electronics in there. Everything that I possibly need on the bike. It's got the Autocom Super Pro AV, which is handy, especially if I'm carrying passengers, because I've got all the leads connected to the spare helmet, so we can have a bit of a chinwag. Interride radio communication, so I can chat with the rest of the motorcycle group while I'm out on the road. It's a PMR radio. I say the aerial, again, the aerial I've just fitted on the side of the tank bag. I used to have the whole system mounted underneath the seat, but at one point I had intended to sell the bike and I stripped it all off. Then I thought about it and I thought, the ST1100 is a damn good bike, so why would you want to get rid of it? So I decided to keep the bike, and I just couldn't be bothered to put everything back underneath the seat and reroute all of the wires. So I've just put everything in the top tank bag. Serves its purpose, does the job. Let's see on the handlebars itself. I'll say the handlebars, you'll probably see these little red bits here. Big problem with the STs, if you fit a tank bag on, if you turn your bars onto full lock, what tends to happen is either the horn or the starter switch makes contact with the side of the tank bag. So if you put your steering on full lock, it will either set your horn off, otherwise you're going to engage the starter switch and burn it out. So I just made a couple of metal brackets, or made a couple of brackets out of aluminium and just bent them. And the idea is, if I turn the handlebars on full lock, the little aluminium brackets which I made actually hit the tank bag and push the tank bag out of the way before it makes contact with the horn. I'll say it again, that was another little tip I got off the internet. Right, the handlebars themselves, you might have noticed that I've actually nibbled out some of the handlebar cover. That's because I have fitted, and I don't know if you'll be able to make it out, I've actually fitted 2-inch Rox handlebar razors. Now 2-inch handlebar razors is probably the maximum that you want to go to if you're thinking about doing it, because if you go any higher than that, you're going to have to start rerouting your throttle cables, your brake cable, and your clutch cables, or your clutch hose anyway. So that was an adaptation that I did, and it works incredibly well. It's absolutely brilliant. It doesn't half change the seating position of the bike. This bit on the left hand side, that's me PTT switch for when I'm using the radio inside the tank bag. And of course on the front dash where the screen is, I've got the Nuvi, or the Garmin Nuvi 660, which is just an ordinary car GPS system and sat nav. It's not waterproof, but I've had it mounted on there probably for the last 3 years, and I've been out in all different types of weather conditions, and it hasn't corrupted. It's been absolutely fine. I made a little cover just out of an electrical box just to hold it in place to give it a little protection. Yeah, and the system works. Right, the little bit that's underneath, that's a little FM radio which I picked up again. I ordered off eBay and I got it from China. It cost me about £4. And basically, yeah, cheap and cheerful, does the job. The lead itself, that plugs into my Autocom system, so at least I can, as I say, if I'm riding along, I can just listen to the radio. Because that's linked through the Autocom system and I've got the leads into my helmet, I can just listen to the radio. They're not brilliant, they do the job. The only problem is with these little things is you probably find that you have to research for the channel every 5 I don't know, every 5 minutes. They're not brilliant, but they do the job. Because this little blue cable here, if you can make it out, believe it or not, that's the aerial. So the aerial is not particularly good. I say that the bike itself is a brilliant bike. Seriously, absolutely brilliant bike. I've been to Germany on it once. I've been to France on it once, and it just does not miss a beat. Give it a service on a regular basis. Change the oil every 4,000 to 5,000 miles. I say, just keep on top of it. Give it a bit of a polish, and just, as I say, keep on top of it. The tyres that's on the bike itself, the tyres are actually Bridgestone BT23s, which is the Battle Axe range. Now those tyres themselves, I put those tyres on at 74,000 miles. It's now got 81,000 miles on the clock. So those tyres are now coming up to 6,000 miles on one set of tyres, and look at them, I probably estimate I've probably got about a good 2.5, maybe 3,000 miles left in those tyres. Those Battle Axe 23s, or the BT23s, are damn good tyres. They really do stick to the road. I'd say it's absolutely brilliant. The tyres which were on the bike when I originally bought it were the BT, or the Battle Axe BT20s. Then I upgraded to the, again, Goodyear BT21s, which were even better still. And of course, when Goodyear brought out the BT23s, I thought, well, I'll give them a go. And I must admit, I have not been disappointed. They really stick to the road, either in the wet or the dry, and I can really throw this thing around the corners without it even twitching. I say it's a good bit of kit. Now the interesting thing is the seat. The seat itself, like I said on one of my previous videos, is I actually had about 1.5 inches of foam sculpted out of the seat, because I'm only a short guy. I'm only about 5'7", so you know I was having difficulty reaching the ground. However, once I had the 1 or 1.5 inch piece of foam sculpted out of the standard seat, I actually found that my body positioning was causing us excessive pain in my hips and my knee joints. So I actually had to put a foam seat on, which I've done. I see I've got a little foam seat, or a foam pad on top of the original ST seat. But this bit that's on the top, this is a cover which I've just added on. It's Dacron on the inside, or fibre filling, depending on how you prefer to call it. And this itself, believe it or not, is an extra small dog bed. Yeah, a dog bed, I'm not joking. I was walking through the local garden centre one day, and this thing was actually folded in half. And I thought to myself, that's probably about the size of my backside. That would go nice on my bike. So I bought it. Stitched a few pieces of elastic on it, secured it underneath the seat itself. But that is absolutely brilliant. That's really soft and really uncomfortable. Did I say uncomfortable? If I did, I made a mistake. I meant comfortable. Yeah, so the bike itself is brilliant as a tourer and as a general bike for knocking around on. I say it's great. Just can't fault it. It just goes on and on and on and on. So that's basically it. As I say, that's just a very quick review. Not so much of the bike. I say it's more a review on the camera itself, because I've changed the settings onto 720p at 30 frames per second. So that's basically it. I'll get this edited, checked over, and I'll get it posted, and hopefully we can see the difference between all the video footages and the different resolutions of the TCL SVC200 action cam. We'll see what the difference is between all three footages. Okay, bye bye for now.